Picture this, you are scrolling through your newsfeed one morning in May 2025, coffee in hand, when you see a headline that makes you do a double take. North Korea Special Forces deployed to West Africa. Your first thought? This has to be fake news, but it isn't. 700 elite North Korean commandos have just landed in Burkina Faso, and suddenly every assumption about African geopolitics needs a rewrite. Welcome to the Strategic Lens, where we unpack the chess moves reshaping our world. Today's story is about survival, sovereignty, and why sometimes the most unlikely partnerships makes perfect sense. Let's start with some context that most media outlets skip. Burkina Faso isn't just another African country making headlines. With 20 million people, it sits at the heart of the Sahel, that belt of territory between the Sahara Desert and the tropical forest. Think of it as the front line of a war most people don't even know is happening. Since 2015, violent extremism has killed over 10,000 people here. Nearly 2 million are internally displaced. That's like the entire population of Houston becoming refugees in their own country. Imagine you are President Ibrahim Traoré. You took power in 2020. Yes, through a coup. But stay with me here. Now you inherit this mess. Jihadist groups controlling 40% of your country. You have a military that is outgunned and demoralized. And you also have traditional allies who seem more interested in lectures than solutions. Here is where it gets interesting. France has been Burkina Faso's security partner since independence in 1960. But when Burkina Faso asked for serious military hardware, the type that could change the tide, they get a polite no. Why? Human rights concerns, diplomatic backsliding. We can't give you lethal weapons. I mean, the usual diplomatic thanks. And all this meanwhile, the people of Burkina Faso are being unalived. What would you do if you were the president of such a country? Now, before you judge, consider this perspective. North Korea has survived 70 years of international isolation. They have faced sanctions, diplomatic pressure, even threats of regime change. Yet, they are still standing. To someone like Traoré, that is not a cautionary tale. It's a masterclass of survival. Security analyst Dr. Sarah Chen puts it this way. For African leaders facing existential threats, North Korea offers something unique: military expertise without moral sermons. And here is what most people miss. This is not North Korea's first rodeo in Africa. Let me give you some historical context that might surprise you. Did you know that North Korea trained Zimbabwe's Fit Brigade in the 1980s? Or that they have sold weapons to at least 15 African countries over the past 4 decades? Egypt, Ethiopia, Uganda, they have all done business with Pyongyang when it all suited their needs. But here is the clever part. North Korea doesn't just sell weapons, they offer something much more valuable. How to secure a regime, how to build intelligence network, and how to ensure military loyalty. Military loyalty, take note of that. If there is one thing that shines in North Korea's military, is loyalty. A group of soldiers were given $5 million to unalive Ibrahim Traoré, but they brought that money and gave it to Ibrahim Traoré and caught the intruder. That is military loyalty. That is the kind of knowledge North Korea is giving to Burkina Faso. Do you now see how valuable that kind of knowledge can be? Now, I want you to think about this from the perspective of a Burkinabe, that is someone who comes from Burkina Faso. You are not just buying guns, you are buying expertise from a country that's mastered the art of survival against overwhelming odds. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the moral question. And who's better to guide us other than Nelson Mandela? In 1997, when Mandela was criticized of maintaining his friendship with Muammar Gaddafi and Fidel Castro, Mandela said something very profound. Your enemies are not our enemies.
One of the mistakes which some political analysts make is to think that their enemies should be our enemies.
Think about that. Mandela wasn't endorsing these leaders' actions. He was assessing South Africa's right to choose its own friends based on its own history and needs. Muammar Gaddafi and Fidel Castro helped South Africa during the period of apartheid. Meanwhile, the majority of the world was just watching from a very far distance. Fast forward to today, when Trump in 2018 met Kim Jong-un. This whole thing was called diplomatic breakthrough. Some people in the West call it bold diplomacy.
I got along very well. North Korea, Kim Jong-un, I got along very well with him. The press hated when I said that. How could you get along with him? Well, you know, it's nice to get along with somebody who has a lot of nuclear weapons or otherwise, isn't it?
But when an African president does the same, it is called dangerous alliance. Do you see the pattern? Now let's hear from different corners of this story. We will start with the French perspective. This undermines decades of security cooperation and violates international sanctions. It's a step backward for regional stability. Then we have another perspective, the Burkinabe perspective from a citizen. We have tried the Western way for 60 years. Our parents still talk about French exploitation. If North Korea helps us sleep safely, why not? Then we have the North Korean calculus. For Pyongyang, this isn't charity. It's not. It's strategic expansion. Every African partnership is a crack in their international isolation. Plus, they get paid in gold, minerals, or hard currency. Now, for the regional view, Mali's foreign minister recently said Africa should be free to choose its own partners without being treated like children who need permission. And here is something fascinating. While we debate the ethics, the practical is already visible. Since 2023, when Ibrahim Traoré started connecting with North Korea, it has successfully stopped 18 coup attempts. Is that a coincidence? What would have happened if they didn't have this rapport? What would have happened? Maybe Ibrahim Traoré wouldn't have been alive today. Now let's zoom out and see what's happening here. This is a live experiment of what experts call South-South cooperation. Developing nations helping each other outside traditional power structures. Consider this new geometry of power. Russian military contractors in Mali, Chinese infrastructure across the continent, Turkish drones in Ethiopia, now North Korean special forces in Burkina Faso. It's like watching multiple TV channels at once, each broadcasting different versions of African development. The West offers one model: democracy, human rights, gradual progress. The East offers another: stability first, development second, and sovereignty always. Now let's be clear-eyed about the risk. This partnership could backfire spectacularly. There are economic consequences. Sanctions could affect Burkina Faso's economy. Also, there could be diplomatic isolation. Traditional partners might withdraw support entirely. But here is the counter-argument from Ouagadougou. We are already isolated by terrorism. We are already economically struggling. What exactly do we have to lose? As one Burkinabe official told me privately, the West wants us from future risk, while we are being unalived from present dangers. So what does this mean for you watching from wherever you are? First, it means the world is becoming genuinely multipolar. The days of one size fits all are ending. Second, it shows that desperation breeds innovation. Even in geopolitics, when traditional paths fail, nations will forge new ones, no matter how controversial. And third, maybe it's time we listened more and preached less. As the African proverb says, the one who asks questions doesn't lose his way. The 700 North Korean commandos in Burkina Faso aren't just soldiers. They are a symbol of changing times, shifting alliances, and a world where the old rulebook is being rewritten in real time. The question isn't why this is right or wrong. The question is, are we paying attention to why it's happening? Because understanding the why behind these changes, that's how we navigate the world that's coming. This is the strategic lens. Not just showing you what happened, but helping you understand why it matters. Until my next video.